Hi, Tony. Maria Guardado, MLB.com. It seems like you really kind of agonized over the decision to leave Tennessee. Just what ultimately convinced you to take this opportunity with the Giants?
Yeah, thanks for revisiting that. Relationships is kind of, I don't have a bread and butter. And to be honest with you, just mention work ethic. On the field, I joke. I mean, I had decent skills, and I don't know that I have many skills to offer in baseball. And sorry if that lowers expectations around here. I think for whatever reason, I clicked on pitching a little bit when scouting. Maybe a few guys maybe hit the nail on the head there, but I've just tried to work hard. And I think no matter what field it is, probably everyone here knows from the media, it's not easy. It's hard work. You all have a job to do too. And the harder you work, the more you have success, and the more you also figure out what doesn't work and trial and error and things like that. So that's a long lead into a lot of relationships and a lot of work were put into that. It's a phenomenal place to live, work. Like here, the one similarity I saw is the fan base is arguably the best in the country for who they are. And you end up creating a bond if you do put in the work with those people where there's a reciprocation. For everything you give to them, you get back. I don't know what number you want to attach to it, but you get back. And then I started my, rambling at the beginning by talking about players. I owe everything to the coaches that have given me opportunities, like Tim Jamison, who I played for, and he gave me my first coaching job, but more to the players that have competed the way they have when I've been fortunate enough to be in the dugout. And then you get some credit. And those relationships are tough. And no one wants to see that team go to Omaha more than me that's in Tennessee. But I'll tell you whose wins I'd enjoy more than Tennessee's, San Francisco Giants.
Let's go, Janie.
Hi, Tony. Janie McCauley from Associated Press. You referenced your mom might want you to take things down a notch, and your dad would say, let's ratchet it up here. What do you want people to know about your style and maybe the mix of both your parents that you have and maybe how they've influenced how you do your job?
Yeah, my mom's Irish, so you probably picked up on there were days where you're a little teary-eyed about in different ways, excitement about opportunity and relationships and things like that, and then just overall a bunch of emotions that come about when you tie in the whole story. My dad's Italian and he's a great cook, but he was the ultimate competitor and he hated to lose. And I think a lot of the things that have come out about the teams I've been a part of or our coaching staff are just that. It was a group that hated to lose and just wanted to do everything we could to put ourselves in a position to win. It doesn't always work out that way. When you show up to a competition, as long as it doesn't rain, there's two outcomes that can occur, win or loss. And that's something that every competitor, when you step into the arena, has to realize. So some of the moments, I guess, that I'll branch off of that is Twitter is not life. And I know I don't have an account. I asked before even taking the job, I don't have to get a Twitter, right? And they said no. I realize it's a part of the job. There's great information. There's great entertainment. But one thing that I think is very beneficial to people is to know that Twitter is not life. So you pull a 3-second clip and you see Drew Gilbert doing something in college, you think he's a maniac and maybe a maniac off the field, and you don't get the full scope of the kid is literally a sweetheart, off the field. But yeah, he's very competitive on the field. So that's just the one thing I'd say. And I had to live it out. I didn't look at a lot of the stuff, but I can tell when people say, I'm sure there's negative stuff. There's always doubters, and why would you do this? But the amount of positive feedback I've gotten from, I was joking about recruiting, from kids that I didn't even coach, I just recruited them, or opponents in college baseball, or other people in big league baseball, these other managers that are either retired or still coaching, reaching out to me has blown me away. And positivity's got a lot of power.
Let's go to the right. Shayna.
Hi, Tony. Welcome. Shayna Rubin with the San Francisco Chronicle. There's a lot that's been said about the difference between college and the pros and the learning curve there. But what are some of the elements of college baseball that you think the big leagues would benefit from that you want to bring?
I think there's a trade back and forth. Off the cuff, I don't want to say the wrong one. I'm around big league guys up here. But I think in college, it's so important to build relationships with these kids because they're at a vulnerable part in their life where they're so impressionable, and they need to be able to come forward to you with, things that maybe don't even relate to baseball. In all walks of life, any kind of business, and we're in, one of the most innovative and aggressive areas of business in the world, really. So whether it's that or with baseball, relationships are so important. And so I'm sure that's being done at this level. I just think it's a different perspective that either I can bring or other coaches can bring. And, I'll also say this, you look at guys like Christian Moore, who are almost immediately in the big leagues, and obviously Paul Skeens is having success and things like that. I think the two are kind of melting together. And trust me, the college base, I wouldn't vote myself to be the pioneer of college baseball, but I think one thing that can come out of this is it be one step further of the two, again, kind of melting together, and MLB supporting college baseball and doing things for it, and college baseball interacting with MLB and seeing how, those two things can kind of, call it melt or bridge together, I think could be very, very beneficial to the game, especially since some of the minor league teams have been taken away, and also especially since college baseball has risen in popularity so much. There's real star power, and the fan following has kind of matched that. And some of those guys are, in the big leagues 2 months after they get drafted.
Stay on the right. Scott?
Yes, Scott Osler, San Francisco Chronicle. Going back to the question that Justice asked a few minutes ago, how this all started. This is, I guess, for all three of you, but can you give us a little more detail on, it seems unusual that Buster Posey could call a college coach and just say, hey, have you ever thought about being a manager? I mean, how'd that first call go, that very first contact?
Well, I think, Scott, one of my most important responsibilities in this role is to be able to read a room and read people. I don't always get it right, but I feel like I have a pretty good sense of that. So, there's a perception, I think, when you have somebody who you can watch even before you make a phone call of what they may be about, and what their personality might be like. And it doesn't always perfectly match up, but you do have a good idea going into it. So I don't feel like I was going into it blindly, not having an idea of who I was calling. And then, just as I mentioned to Justice, it just kind of over time, more conversations, Tony having conversations with people in the organization, talking more baseball, talking vision, leadership, all the attributes that go into making a good leader. He checked all those boxes. And, there's, again, like I think with any hire you make, there's going to be a certain level of risk. It doesn't matter who it is. I mean, I would say that's for anybody. But again, my responsibility, Zach's responsibility, and the rest of the front office is to be able to read people and have a good, I guess I'll use a front office word, projection of who they may be.
Stay on the right. Evan?
Hi, Tony. Evan Webeck with the San Jose Mercury News. You said after you took this job that you consider yourself a Vol for life and you hope to return to Tennessee one day. How do you expect to go about embracing not just the Giants, but San Francisco and the Bay Area and the culture here in the same way?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to experience it before. I mean, we've had conversations, so it's all blending together for me. But I played and coached in Salinas and, came to several games here. Bill Miller, a former player that, I don't know, you might be too young. Do you remember Bill Miller?
I know Bill Miller.
Yeah. Pretty good teams he was a part of and a pretty good dude there, and he took good care of me. So I was able to see this environment myself. My former college roommate is here, Ryan Pickett. He's one of several people that are from this area and are Giants fans that I'm friends with. So like Tennessee, where you referenced, when that job first became available, I was busy with what I was trying to do at another program at Arkansas. And, I was like, well, it's not who you know, it's not who you are, but who you know. And I was like, I don't know anybody at Tennessee. Well, it kind of turned out I did. There was like 7, 8 little connections. And it's been interesting how this has come to be. Obviously, there's some players in the organization I'm familiar with, but just a lot of random connections. And again, 2 summers that were very special to me that I spent in Salinas, California, not too far from here, where I was educated on the Giant fan base and the organization itself, and also just the people in general, and how great of an area this is, you know?
Can you tell us just a little bit more about your time in Salinas and the impressions that you came away from, I guess, Northern California with?
Yeah, I was in good hands. Deborah Cole was my host mom those 2 summers, and people make a place, you know, and the park was fun to go to, and we had a good group of players, and the fans, you know, not quite as big of a crowd as here, were abundant, but it was the people there that just made you feel welcome. And being from the Midwest, you've got different stereotypes throughout the country on what the vibe is like where you're from. And in the Midwest, home and family and kind of feeling welcoming is very, very important. And that was very evident from day one, in part, again, who I was staying with and who I was surrounded by, but just in general. And it's different up here. It just is. Abnormal may sound like you're saying weird or in a bad way, but very abnormal the last couple of days since I've been here. The attention to detail, the people at the hotel that have either been tipped off or maybe already, I'm like, how much did you give these guys but it's not random, it's not coincidental, it's culture. And again, that's also a vague word and one that's overused a lot, but it's abnormal here. And I think it's probably fed into the success of the organization, which has also been abnormal.